The Crypto Markets Update is brought to you by KuCoin, the best place to find the next crypto gem.
Joining us now to discuss the crypto markets is Glen Goodman. He's crypto consultant at crypto exchange eToro. Welcome, Glen.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. So we see this really terrible market reaction to what's happening in the tech sector. Amazon, Microsoft, Google, a little bit of Apple, not as much as these other names. But, and obviously Meta being one of the worst earnings we could possibly imagine. I regret I didn't mention that earlier. What a terrible, terrible market reaction. And crypto is not necessarily doing poorly, but it's not great. Explain that.
I'm going to put more of a positive spin on it because, as far as I'm concerned, today is kind of a day of bad news being good news. Because, unequivocally, as you say, Amazon's really disappointing announcement sounds like the fourth quarter is going to be really unpleasant, and those shares took a real hammering. But I want to show you two charts that kind of illustrate why I think this is kind of good news for the crypto sector, and actually for stocks as well, but I'll get on to that. But the first chart that I want to show you is Netflix's earnings announcement back in January. I think you've got that chart there. And basically, if you chart Netflix against Bitcoin and Ethereum after the earnings announcement back in January, what you find is that as Netflix's price was really plunging downwards, you got Bitcoin and Ethereum also plunging downwards in solidarity with Netflix. That was at a time when there were a lot of what crypto traders call weak hands in the market. There were a lot of people who had bought relatively recently and were in it for the short haul. And I'm not just talking about individual traders, of course. I'm also talking about the institutions, hedge funds, and so on that got into crypto in a big way in 2021. And they weren't really committed to kind of, the dream of crypto or anything like that, most of them. Let's face it, they really didn't care about any of that. They just saw it as a risk-on asset. They were excited to make some quick money, and when things weren't panning out because the market topped in November 2021 and started going downwards, and then they saw stocks, particularly the big tech stocks that they'd been putting all their hopes into, also falling, they all started moving in unison. It was kind of the same new narrative that crypto equals tech stocks, So you saw a big fall after the Netflix announcement in Bitcoin and Ethereum. But if we look at the chart, I don't know if you've got them there, but
we don't have the charts, unfortunately.
We'll put them in. We'll put them in. Don't worry.
All right. Whatever. I'll just describe it. It's fine. So basically, the chart of Amazon after its earning announcement last night, I was watching this very, very carefully because, after the announcement, I saw Amazon start to drop precipitously, obviously. But I was more interested in what would happen to Bitcoin and Ethereum. And they reacted. Yeah, they went down a bit. But like you just mentioned, actually, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that big a deal. Right, and that marks a real change from what we saw in January. So that got me thinking: have all the weak hands, or most of them, finally been shaken out? Are we now in solid territory? And so I had a good look at the on-chain data again, just to remind myself of what's going on there. And sure enough, we're now in a position where, according to Glassnode, at any rate, we have fewer people holding, or rather fewer addresses holding 3-month or less aged coins than ever before. So let me put that another way. Basically, what it means is that, most of the coins are in the hands of people who are more committed to Bitcoin. The number of coins that have been held for 3 months or less is smaller than we've ever seen before. So that's quite remarkable. And actually, it always marked market bottoms in the past as well. So, we can't say definitively that this is the Bitcoin and Ethereum market bottom. We don't know for absolute certain. There could be another lurch downwards, particularly if stocks take a dive. But I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing, because there's that decoupling appearing to begin between Bitcoin, Ethereum, and tech stocks. Maybe finally Bitcoin and Ethereum will do their own thing.
So just to sum this up, what you're basically saying is this: the paper hands have all folded. They're out. It's mostly diamond hands now. I'm using the terms that the kids on Reddit use. And that's what's led to that decoupling. In other words, that there aren't that many weak hands anymore. And so the kind of weak hands that would have traded crypto alongside of tech have left. Nonetheless, tech still might have a really, as you said, might still yet suffer for whatever reason. We don't know what macroeconomic issues might come up. There might be another offensive in Ukraine that might shake the markets, some supply shocks, oil, et cetera, that might really damage the outlook for tech. That being said, what is the argument one can make right now for going into crypto, if at all? In other words, we might have decoupled, but that doesn't necessarily mean a rally.
Well, the argument for going into crypto now, and I should point out that in my own accounts, I'm only dipping my toe in at the moment. I sold nearly everything, near the top. Hee hee. And
yeah, Brad, everyone's
we're near what might be the bottom.
Let's see those trades before you brag. That's what I say.
You want the screenshots.
I want to jump in here and also mention we have some economic data out. So excluding food and energy, the PCE price index for September increased 5.1% from 1 year ago. It's a preferred inflation gauge for the Federal Reserve, so it's in line with expectations, but still pretty hot. We've got a Fed meeting around the corner, and so what could this mean for, whether or not we're going to see a hawkish Fed? I mean, we had that GDP data also out the other day. It was also looking quite high. It looks like they could really potentially hunker down and start tightening even further.
Yeah, this is another case, as far as I'm concerned, of bad news being turned into good news by the markets, which really shows you that in both the stock market and the crypto markets, as I say, it goes for stocks as well as crypto, that the weak hands have more or less been shaken out. And so any hint of good news, there are so many more optimists now on the sidelines, just desperate for any piece of good news. So actually, the PCE figures that we just got have been spun by the market as good news. I mean, I say that right now. Obviously, things could turn around. But as the markets stand this moment, the pre-market prices for the S&P 500 and indeed major cryptos have edged up a bit on that news. And the reason why I think that that's very positive is because actually the PCE figures, as far as I'm concerned, were pretty disappointing. Even though they came in more or less in line with expectations, what they revealed was a number of things. They revealed that we've still got a really kind of sticky inflation. We also know that it's really wide-ranging in the United States across many, many different goods and services and wage rises, of course. The only thing, frankly, that's keeping it from being a catastrophic figure for the Americans is that the US dollar is so strong. Because, of course, when a currency is really, really strong, it means that you get your imports much more cheaply. So America is really benefiting from that strong dollar in those terms, at least. So yes, it's difficult. I'm feeling a little bit kind of like in two minds, because on one hand, as you quite rightly point out, it looks gloomy from an economic point of view, but the markets appear, at least after more than 6 months, God, it's getting on for a year, isn't it? After almost a year of misery, the markets seem to have had enough of negativity, and even anything that's just not terrible news seems to make them go up a little bit. So that's why I'm dipping my toe into the markets, stocks and crypto, because I'm going with the momentum. But as far as the fundamentals are concerned, the economic fundamentals, they ain't really getting much better, are they?